there were some documents we are supposed to sign, and I told him, okay, we are going to sign. You know, I said no. This is how we used to sign it then when we were signing for the commissioners and what have you. I couldn't argue with him until I got the letter to some other person who is also a learned person, who told me, I know this is the normal way. Leave that thing that he's saying, you know. So let us not get into. A number of people do not need this type of situation. What they need is technocrats who will submit their technical know-how to the visions and mission of the current governor-elect. That is the only way their expertise can rub off positively on the lives of Anambra people. And whatever they are doing, as a way of rounding up, whatever they are doing, they should know that during the debate before the election, the yardstick was what the former governor Peter Obi had done in the state, in the education, in the road, in infrastructure, in social services. Those were the standards that all the governorship candidates were using as a yardstick during the debate. So as they are beginning their transition, they should also know that they have sworn not to go below what Peter Obi had done. So whatever they are doing, that standard must be maintained and possibly be improved upon. Then we'll be able to say that as technocrats, they actually did what they are supposed to do.
All right, thank you so much, Kingsley Zejobi. Thank you for joining us on Atn Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Conversations still go on, and we have some security conversations that we want to share. State of security in Nigeria, plateau crisis, and it is said that no group should take laws into their hands. That's what the presidency says. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get more into that conversation. Do not go anywhere. You are still on Atlantic Television Network. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This Wafaka, is it
On the facts, breaking news, and in-depth interviews on a wide range of topics.
Atlantic Television Network, home for in-depth reportage, facts, professionalism, all the news you need. Atlantic Television Network. Atlantic Television Network.
Atlantic Television Network, anchoring facts.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing. You human traffickers, you are a human.
Welcome back to Atn Saturday. I am near Barry Fakai. I hope you're having a good time today on the show. On to our next conversations. State of security in Nigeria, plateau crisis. No group should take laws into their hands. That's what the presidency says. President Buhari speaks on fresh killings in Basa local government of Plateau State. And speaking through his aide, Gabashelu, he says that the incident is not with the principles of peace agreements reached between the Irigwe and the Fulani in the area, and that every group taking the law into their hand claims to be retaliated. As a society, there is no place of this sort of violence, and this is unacceptable. Now, he expressed his sadness over the fresh killings in Basa local government of Plateau State, and he said that the incident was not in keeping with the principles of peace agreements reached between the Irigwe and the Fulani in that area. And the press release he put out concluded with this. It says, "My thoughts are with the families of the victims in the times of grief, and may their souls rest in peace." Recall that the communal crisis between the Irigwe and the neighboring communities is nothing new. The question here is, when will the government do the needful? Okay, in the studio with me today I have a security and a safety consultant. Thank you so much for showing up today. We have Confidence Eke in the studio with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, viewers. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so looking at what the state of security is here, security is one thing that every Nigerian can relate to because once it's happening somewhere, you know that something has dropped in the water, and if you understand how ripple effects work, if it's not managed properly there, then that form of insecurity can be replicated anywhere. Talk to us a little bit about, first of all, the background of this crisis, and what you think Nigerians should know about the crisis.
Yes, I think the crisis in Plateau State has a historical dimension. If you understand the ethnic tribes in Plateau State, you see that they have coexisted over the years with this same Fulani. If you look at what the president is saying, he's saying there was a peace pact between the Irigwes and the Fulanis. And I think what is happening at the moment is basically failure of the security architecture in Nigeria to manage the situation. The security situation we have in Nigeria, as it is right now, can only be managed if we change completely from the system that we are operating. Because presently, you cannot find any country with the kind of population Nigeria is having that is running a centralized policing system. That is the first step. We need to decentralize our policing system. Most of the countries with large populations today are running a decentralized policing system. A situation where you have one command structure and then you are doing the same thing that you have been doing over the years, and then you're expecting different results, it's not going to work. So I think what is going to work at this stage is for the handlers of our security system to think outside the box, embrace technology, rejig the policing system, and make it a community-based policing system where the people themselves will have to take the initiative. Now, the other dimension is the categorizations. If you continue to look at the ethnic or religious dimensions to this, it is going to worsen the situation, because what you are seeing now are series of reprisals, retaliatory attacks and all that. This happened so year to this group, and this group is coming back. And I think the way to stop that, the way to stop this series of retaliatory attacks, is for the people to begin to see that justice is being meted out against perpetrators of crime in Nigeria. The moment people begin to see that the policing system is adequately empowered to arrest and prosecute people who violate, because it's a very serious offense, taking laws into your hand, killing people. Now, if you see a system that people are getting apprehended, people are getting prosecuted, it will serve as deterrent. So, by and large, I believe that right now, what is happening is that the handlers of our security system need to completely change their direction. We need to look at decentralized police system. I think it's only very few countries right now. A country like Sweden that is still running a centralized police system. Sweden, the population of Sweden is, I think, about 10 million people. 10 million people. Look at the huge population of Nigeria, and then we are still running a centralized policing system. In the United States, you see a system where the police in a state takes charge of everything about their policing system. And then you now have a central policing system, a central police structure that takes care of national emergencies. I think that should be the first step. And then embracing technology. We need to use technology. There is no other way you can do it. We need to use technology. I think there is need for government to allow private organizations to invest in security, and then they will be supervised. What I mean is this: a company like Coca-Cola can invest in their own security system. You train their security, you give them all the enablements. They will play complementary role to the national police. Then you have the issue of citizenship data. There is no citizenship data. I can travel from here to Kaduna and change my name. I can begin to answer Amos Daniel in Kaduna State, and I can one way or the other get this name smuggled into our data system, get a driver license with it, open a bank account with that name. So people can change their, there is a need for us to take serious the issue of citizenship data. Nigeria is probably the only country in the world where you can walk into a hotel and pay money and they will give you a room and you sleep in that hotel. You hardly can see any country in the world today where you check into a hotel without being profiled. You must present an identity, and then the hotel is under some sort of supervision. Nigeria, until recently, I don't know how far they have gone with the SIM card data registration thing. Until recently, Nigeria is also one of the few countries that a foreigner can come in, buy a SIM card at the airport and start using. You can use that SIM card for the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. In most countries, you cannot. If you are on a visit visa, if you are on a visit visa and your visa is going to terminate in 6 months' time, for instance, they will give you a SIM card that will terminate in 6 months' time. So I think the traditional approach of policing that we are using need to be completely reviewed. We need to look at citizenship data. We need to look at issues of technology, using technology. Do you know we can interface with even the private transport operators to have a monitoring of the transport systems? In most countries, you enter a taxi, there is a camera viewing you on that taxi. We should begin to think of how to train a lot of informal people to become policemen. The lady that carries your bag at a hotel, the newspaper vendor, the taxi driver, the lift operator, all these people, they need to be trained and integrated into our police system informally. But this cannot work in a situation where we are still operating the old traditional policing system. So for Plateau State, right now, there is accusation, counter-accusation. This group believes that they are being killed by this group. This group now believes that they will retaliate against this group, and it continues like that. So there is need for the government to completely change the policing system, to enhance the confidence of the citizens, to build their confidence that they can be protected. That is the only way the reprisals can stop.
Okay. Entire change of policing systems, rigid, as is pointed out. Now you've put a few interesting points out there, and technology is one of them. I read about the research a while ago about bombing in Abuja, and though some of the, it was a UN building bombing, some of the culprits were captured on camera, but there was no way to locate them because obviously there was no database. The concern about a database for a nation is one that I strongly believe should happen. But I was going to ask you, do you think Nigerians are ready for that? Because when I asked this question somewhere else, someone said even in leadership, some people still need those ghost names, those ghost images. When you want to create a comprehensive database, that means everybody will be ready to be seen. That means, of course, some things that will happen in some, behind the scenes will obviously become public. You think Nigerians are ready for that? Because I think that's one of the reasons why the move to rejig security, the move to go digital, the move to get more people included will get some form of a block. So do you think we are ready for that level of security, sir?
Yes, I think so. I think we are ready, and it is very, very critical at this stage. The issue is that the leadership, you see, like I always say, the people running a system can only operate within the limits of the knowledge they have. Now, if our leaders have come to a realization, because right now you see that nothing is going to work in a situation of continual insecurity. Nothing is going to work. You want to build infrastructure, you want to attract foreign investors, you want to bring in you want to promote tourism. Nothing will work except we fix our security system. It is critical, and it is very, very needed at this point in time that we work on these things. And I don't think it is very difficult. If the banks, take the banks for instance, they are private sector players. If the banks can have an identity system that is very reliable as we speak today, how much more government can do? I think government can do even better than the banks. Now, you see, the other issue we have is issue of contracting. We have issue of managers of systems, political influence in managing systems. I think this is not rocket science. The government can allow private organizations. There are reputable private companies that can do this for us in months without any difficulties. The government should look in that direction. The government should also look in the direction of working with the banks, for instance. The banks can assist the government to a large extent. I think at this stage, what is required now is the synchronization of the data. Because right now you see that there are different silos. The Nigerian Immigration Service is keeping data. The Federal Road Safety Corps, they are keeping data that they are harnessing from processing of driver's licenses. Even the motor licensing offices in Nigeria are keeping some bit of data. Now, if you bring all this together and work even with the bank, what they have, I don't think this will take a longer time to achieve. It is just the sincerity of the leaders. Like you said, people don't want an accurate data so that they can manipulate one thing or the other. But we should look at the bigger picture. We should look at the overall effect of what this is causing to our security system, and then take the decision now.
Okay, take the decision now and look at the overall effect of poor data management as regards our security system. Now, I'll take it up a notch here. Southerners not applying for police jobs. That's what the first PRO declares. And your security expert. So this one is one that I know you can give us a little bit of context on. Why is it that there has to be an extension of the application date? Because the police PRO pointed this out in a statement on Wednesday after he pointed out that they needed to be an extension just to ensure that equal opportunity is given to everybody. And so here we are now. This extension is to January the 22nd. That is to allow Southerners apply, and this is a statement he made on Wednesday. Equal opportunity. First of all, why do you think we don't have enough Southerners applying, and why would you encourage Southerners to apply?
Okay. You know, the southern part of Nigeria, there is a higher level of elitism. If I should use the word elitism, there is higher level of egalitarianism. There is higher level of literacy, much more than the northern part. You know, but there is, if I would digress from what somebody, the traditional analysis that somebody will give on this, there is also a problem right now among the young people. There is a serious problem. A lot of young people, I think, influence from pop culture, influence from, you know, Instagram, social media and all that, about wealth creation and all that. A lot of young people today believe that you don't need to do the traditional things. You don't need to go through the rudiments of education, get an employment, and then start growing on a scale. A lot of young people believe that there are so many things you can do, and then you become super rich in a short while. They are looking at young millionaires in the music industry, people that have suddenly become rich, and then a lot of them, you say they are doing a cryptocurrency, they are doing this, and a lot of them, there's so much focus on that. There's so much focus on that. Now, but I don't think that is the primary problem here. I think the primary problem is the police image. A lot of people, especially if you look at the Southeast now, a young, normal, a youth in the Southeast might not be comfortable joining the police force because of what is happening today. You hear about the killing of police officers and all that. And then you look at the condition of these policemen. If you go to the barracks, you know that the police profession is one of the noblest professions in most countries in the world. Because these are the people protecting the society. If you go to most countries, it is very difficult to join the police force, because you go through a lot of profiling that even goes beyond you, to even to your father and your grandfather, both from the maternal and the paternal angles, because they have to look at your grandfather, your great-grandfather. Was he a criminal? Was he a bandit? And all that. It's supposed to be a very noble profession. But because of the condition of service you see here, which I think the government need to look at, there are piecemeal approaches. I call it piecemeal approaches. Okay, we have increased the salary of policemen from this to this. No, there has to be a holistic thing. It has to be a revolutionary approach to the welfare of the police officers, to such an extent that you will now create a robust image for the police force. We really need that. We really need that. Now, that is a factor. Now, another factor is this: lack of confidence. A lot of people interact with those who are already inside the system, and it is unfortunate to say that so many institutions in Nigeria, so many federal establishments in Nigeria have become so ethnicized, to the extent that if you come from a particular region of Nigeria, you are sure that you can get faster promotions and all that. I was a paramilitary officer myself in a federal government establishment. You know, I worked for over 15 years, and we see what goes on. We see what is going on, and then you see that there is the need at this stage for government to look at issue of federal character in this establishment, not just in terms of recruitment, but in terms of promotion, in terms of appointment to positions. Because if you are working in a system where already you feel that you are handicapped by virtue of where you come from, if I join this system, even with my qualification, do I have the chances of becoming an AIG? Do I have the chances of becoming a commissioner of police? Even if I'm very professional with my duties, these are considerations that will also affect, that I think so, to a large extent. Then the issue of remuneration, the issue of, what do you call it, condition of service. Then the factor of like what we are talking about. If you are in an environment where they are killing police officers, like what we saw in the southeast, where they are killing police officers and there are no consequences, would you want to join the police? How many parents would love their children to join the police force? How many ministers have their children as police officers? Former ministers, former senators. Would the senators want their children to enlist in the police force? So these are the issues. And so long as we continue to have the least qualified people, least qualified in terms of academic qualification, least qualified in terms of integrity of character, joining our uniformed services, we can never get it right. We should have situations in Nigeria where the children of senators, where the children of ministers, former governors should be interested in joining the police force, the way it is in other countries of the world. If we restructure the police to make it a noble occupation that it should be. I think these are the issues at stake.
Okay, thank you so much for that input. That said, out of 81,005 applications received nationwide, that's on the 7th of January 2022, only 1%, or rather, only 1,404 applications, that's like less than 2% of total applications were received from 5 states in the southeast. And this is where I'm going with this background. If we decide to go for state policing, as a lot of us have heard, and of course our consultant here in the studio has pointed out that state policing is the way to go. If we decide to go for state policing, do you think it will help, or rather the police will have a better image and better involvement by the people?
Yes, I think so. And I think that is the way to go. I understand the fears of people. When you talk about state police, so many people are scared. They look at the autocracy of governors, whether governors will now take over the police system to use it to oppress their opponents, their political opponents. But I think we can put safeguards.
Okay.
We can put safeguards to stop that. We can actually put in place legal conditions for appointment, legal conditions for dismissal, which should be applied rigorously in the police system. In the analysis I made last, another point I omitted is so many people may not even want to serve far away from their ethnic region. Somebody from Bayelsa State, for instance, may not want to go and work in Maiduguri. So that could also be a reason. So you say, if I join the police now, and then they will post you far away. Now, coming back to your question now, if we have, recently you heard about the Amotokun Corps that the Southwest governors started. You can see the enthusiasm, you can see the number of people who applied for that. So I believe that if we have a police system that is controlled at the state level, taking into consideration all the fears of the people, you will have more people getting enlisted into the police force. It is much easier to also supervise them because they are operating within, a more limited geographical space. It is easier to supervise them. It is also easier for them to be held accountable by the citizens, because at least their leadership organ can easily be reached. The top leadership organ that is making decisions can easily be reached. Unlike in the present situation that we have now, which is very humongous. So many people cannot reach the central police leadership in Abuja. So many people in Abia State cannot reach the IG of police. So many people, and that is where the decision is taken. So many people. So I believe that if we have a state police system, more people will be interested. And then, even as the police is today, you can see that they are receiving a lot of funding from the state government. The bulk of the funding of the present national police system we are running is done by the state government. Every year you hear the state governors are buying patrol vehicles to give to the police, buying communication equipment and all that. So if they are the ones that have been funding the police, you will now have a situation where they now see it as their primary mandate. At that stage, the governors will be able to be held accountable for insecurity in their domains. Because as it is now, the governors are telling you that, well, we don't call the shots. It is not the governor. If a commissioner of police gets a counter order from Abuja, he will take the order from Abuja. So I think if we have a state police system, I know a lot of state governors would take us away from the reactive, because what we are doing today is reactive policing. There is an attack here. Okay, let's go there. Then we'll go there. We need to go out from that and operate a system that is programmed, a crime checking system that is programmed. Not this kind of knee-jerk reactive approach when there is an issue. So the state governors will now watch over their states. And if anything is happening, you can at that point in time now hold the state governors responsible. So you are not able to secure your state. And I think security should be the first parameter for measuring leadership capabilities.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me that point, and I will take you up on this, because this is just on your last note here. Security should be one of the, if not the main parameters to measure leadership abilities. President Muhammad Buhari, in some interviews granted in this past week, has pointed out that he has done his best for Nigeria, the best that he knows how to do. I mean, what he planned to do, and he has delivered his best. I want security analyst in the studio here to give us his take on our president's perception of his best.
Okay. For me, like I said earlier, the performance of a governor, the performance of a president have to do with his perception of the problem. And of course, your perception is guided by your knowledge. The level of knowledge you have guides your perception. Now, the traditional approach, so to speak, the traditional approach or the traditional perception of security in this part of the world is, when you see people carrying guns, if in this your studio now we bring 50 armed men, they surround this place, the thinking, that is the traditional thinking of the people, that this place is secured. If you bring people carrying guns here, they feel that the place is secured. And the traditional thinking also of a lot of people, when they say a security expert, a lot of people, what comes to their mind when they say a security expert, say, okay, maybe this man, he was a policeman before. This man, he was a soldier. He was in the Nigerian Army, or he was in the Air Force or Navy or Department of State Security. That is a security expert. No. Security have moved beyond that level. What level of training? When I mean training about information management, training about psychology, and what level of training do we have available to the people that are policing us today? What is the level of training? So it is not about moving with guns and all that. It is about building a strategic approach. Now, let me give you an instance, a place like Dubai. If you travel to Dubai, the moment you step down from the planes, they are watching you. Because the train, if you get to the Dubai International Airport, you can only use the train to get out of the airport, or you use a taxi to get out of that place. The taxis are all wired and they are all monitored. They are remotely monitored 24 hours. All their cabs in Dubai are monitored. Now the trains are monitored. From that point, they watch you till which hotel where you want to go in. They cannot just bring you in. Before you check into the hotel, they will ask for your passport. And they will key it in that one Mr. Confidence, AK, is lodging in this hotel. As you are moving out of that hotel again, they are logging you out. You are no longer in that hotel. Do you see that in Dubai, even when you build a house as a private citizen, the government will still post security to watch over you in that place? These are countries that they are taking. It's not as if there are no security issues in those countries. But if you commit a crime in those countries, it is very likely that you will be apprehended. If not immediately, after some weeks or after some months, definitely you will be apprehended and you face the justice system. But a situation where people are committing crime and they are going away with it and nothing is happening to them. So coming back to Mr. President, I will not blame Mr. President. Mr. President can only act within the level of his perception of that problem. Now, if the real security experts, if they will allow them to have a section with Mr. President, I mean the real security experts, there are real security experts, people who have undergone a formal training in security. If they have to sit down with Mr. President to analyze the Nigerian model of insecurity, and profile solutions, professional solutions, Mr. President's perception of the problem will change. But what happens in our country is that our leaders, I'm sorry to say this, our leaders are not ready to listen to professional people. What you see going on in Nigeria is just psychophancy. People who are not professional enough are running so many vital sectors in Nigeria. And the fact is that a lot of these people do not understand what they are doing. And when the president says to you, I have received a security brief, who is briefing Mr. President? The brief, of course, will be an analysis of how they understand the problem. So I think that it is not just Mr. President now. Whoever is going to be president of Nigeria in 2023, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, must definitely go back to the rudiment of this problem. And the rudiment of this problem is to rejig our police system and let it be in sync with the policing system that you have all over the world.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Confidence. Thank you for coming in. Very salient points here made. So, perception of presidents, his perception to the concern of security is what will determine how we score him. But we are still open to Nigerians and their scorecards of his presidency. There are still 17 months to the end of his administration. Although some people believe that the interviews he granted, pointing out that he has done his best, somehow will cast some form of aspersion on his government. But there's still time. Thank you so much for staying through with us. This is the most that we can take right here on Atn Saturday rather. And do stay with us. We have very more interesting stuff to put out there. And know this, we are online on all social media platforms, and we are also back on Twitter. So thanks for joining. I am Niabari Fakai. You can follow us on our social media handles. Facebook and YouTube is Atlantic Television Network. Instagram is Atlantic TV Network. Also remember that peace and unity are the best way to go in any situation. Thank you so much for staying here with us. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
On the facts, breaking news, and in-depth interviews on a wide range of topics.
Atlantic Television Network, home for in-depth reportage, facts, professionalism, all the news you need. Atlantic Television Network. Atlantic Television Network.
Atlantic Television Network, anchoring facts.